then you know what? You just wrap some paper around
And that's when you hit the detonator.
Welcome to Engineer vs. Designer.
The podcast.
For engineers, designers, makers, and anybody who's ever tried to design a new and innovative lint roller. My name is Adam, industrial designer of CADjunkie.com.
And my name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com. Each week's show is broken into 3 elbow cracking halves. This week we're going buck wild with the business of design and creating the amazing. First we'll serve up the top product design stories from the week's news, courtesy of SolidSmack.com.
Followed by techie tips, tricks, and Q&A compliments of CADjunkie.com.
Yep, and finally we'll talk with the only man we know who's designed a Willy Wonka themed retail environment, along with furniture, lighting, jewelry, and the rest of the mind-blowing cornucopia of goodness at StuartFingerhut.com. Experienced designer Stuart Fingerhut in Los Angeles, California.
Welcome, Stuart. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show today. If you
Yes.
could design a piece of edible furniture, what would it be?
Oh, that would be easy. That would be a cute little pretzel chair with tender little chocolate cushions.
Tender.
Okay, Stuart. Stay put. We're going to be hearing more from you as the show goes on, thankfully. Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com. Clean our waxy ear canals with the Q-tips of knowledge. What have you got for us this
I
week?
got them. This week's Solid Smack update is brought to you in Synchronous Tech 3D by Siemens PLM. Solid Edge is 3D modeling bliss. Stuff those shaggy stockings with a free 45-day trial of Solid Edge and crank that design into the new year. Get it now at solidedge.com. All right, as you recall from last week, we gave you 5 stories from the world of design and engineering, one of which was completely made up.
He made it up.
Yep, and it was so much fun. We're going to do it again. So listen up as we spew at the news and remember which one you think is bogus.
Like last week, if you are the first person to answer correctly by commenting at EngineerVsDesigner.com, we're going to send you one of our snazzy new EVD
Snazzy.
t-shirts. You ready?
Yes.
Hit it.
All right. Need a construction set? How about one to build a global village? Open Source Ecology is a network of farmers, engineers, and supporters building the global village construction set. It's a modular DIY, low-cost, high-performance platform that enables fabrication of 50 different industrial machines that enable building small civilizations from scratch. Now they're building everything from 3D printers to backhoes and already funded successfully through Kickstarter. Definitely check out the project and all the machines at opensourceecology.org.
It's like real life World of Warcraft. So you suck at Photoshop, not to worry. One of our favorite sites, the 99%.com, which really is one of my favorites, got to check that out, has a new quick start guide that will have you masking and clone stamping with the best of them. It's the quick start guide to teaching yourself creative software. Wow, that's a mouthful. It provides tips and places online to learn everything from video and audio and graphics and CAD. They just forgot one thing.
Which one would that be?
CADjunkie.com!
All right. Now, you've thought about it, but how do you really create a chair? Here are the steps. I'll give them to you. Number 1, create a perforated metal prism. 2, fill a mannequin with concrete. 3, drop said mannequin onto metal prism from a height of 50 feet.
I think I see how this is working out.
It's exactly what Esri Tarizi did repeatedly to create Free Falling, a chair design shaped by the human figure each time their concrete-filled female mannequin is dropped onto it. They're not available yet, but you can see more mannequin violence at evd1.com.
Hide your children and your ladders, people. A Japanese company has created a ladder climbing robot.
No.
It's slow, clumsy looking, uses 5 motors to maneuver about the rails, and at 4 feet tall is creepy enough to give you the fear of little clumsy looking robots.
Or just the fear.
Yes.
If you got a lot of time on your hands and are interested in learning how to mold sustainable housing and other household implements out of dry leaves, mud, wet grass, or even manure, you're in luck. Make It, Mold It is a new venture set out to teach you the methods of shaping such things into practical objects for survival, living, and, dare I say, living in style.
Now, before we jump into this, Josh, I gotta say, I do not know which one of these is fake, and actually, I would be totally guessing because I think there are several contenders for that.
They're all
right here.
insane.
All right, so Josh, tell me about this construction set thing. What the heck is that?
All right, so they are actually open sourcing 50 different mechanical, 50 different machines. They've been featured on
So
Kickstarter.
actually, like backhoes and bulldozers and stuff, open source designs.
Yeah, they got backhoes. They've got aluminum extractors from clay. They're building mud bricks from these machines, bioplastic extruders, bulldozers. I mean, they've got the whole gamut to actually build civilization.
It's like a rep on crack.
Oh yeah, it's totally insane. So, and so they're completely funded. They're building it now, and they're even putting up some challenges for other communities like GrabCAD to build more of the machines.
What do you mean completely funded? How much money did they need? Like that's got to be a ton of money.
Yeah, it was, what was it? They made $63,000. They had a $40,000 goal.
That's awesome. Stuart, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's awesome too. I mean, it truly democratizes, what is generally a very industrial process.
Sure.
So now, I mean, really, if you live in the highlands of North Canada or in the deserts of sub-Saharan Africa, and you want to, create and build and having access to this stuff, it's, truly, I mean, it's basically access to all, regardless of location.
I have to say, it's only, in fact, I'm sure that some crazy conceptual artist has already gotten a hold of these things, but I just think the potential even for fine art and sculpture and all kinds of things, I mean, this is a real opportunity for a renaissance here.
Definitely. Technology. It's the future.
It's the future.
Technology. Well, indeed, technology is the future.
All right,
Adam.
Yeah, I guess it is. And, so is the rest of the show. So
we'll be right back.
Well done.
Right on. All right, Adam O'Hearn of CADJunkie.com. The time has come to crack open the chest cavity of our ignorance with the rib splitters of knowledge. What have you got for us this week, buddy?
Kinds of violent this week. This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by Siemens PLM. Solid Edge synchronous technology rocks your face off with constraint-driven and history-free modeling combined. Snag some fresh how-to tips and a 45-day trial at solidedge.com.
Today, we're chatting with Stuart Fingerhut, experienced designer of StuartFingerhut.com. And I have got to admit, Stuart, the cumulative effect of your website and your portfolio made the back of my eyeballs feel all fuzzy. I'm so excited you could be with us. Truly.
So, Stuart, you seem to make really extensive and interesting use of pattern in your work. And I'm thinking of the pendant lamp you made of a dozen or more suspended pieces of curved metal, or I'm sorry I don't speak French, but the cream door chair.
Crème and deux.
So that one. You have a couple of versions of that are made up of interesting generative patterns wrapping around these complex 3D surfaces. It seems like these kinds of generative patterns are all the rage right now. Why do you think that is?
Are they all the rage? I mean, I guess so. I think, for me, it's not so much the rage as it is, pattern, of course. A lot of influence from just nature and the biological world, and that's just the way things are. There's a lot of repetitive or scaled repetitive patterning. But to answer your, we'll go back to why it's maybe the rage is programs, Grasshopper, things in Rhino, things with Maya. Yeah. Now it's, almost become so easy that you can do it. There's even like very, very basic open source stuff. And if you're looking for a graphic standpoint, something called Repper, and you can just, drop an image in and it'll create this huge landscape of repeated patterns. So, but I think there's just a baseline beauty, that you see. There's just repetition all over.
And so you use Grasshopper in your work?
Sure. I'm more on the Rhino side. I have been for several years, and Grasshopper is definitely a big component. But just the whole Rhino ecosystem that's developed now, when you have Grasshopper and then all the sub-plugins that go into Grasshopper and all the tertiary programs and plugins that can be used just with Rhino. So yeah,
and of course, they're all named after a menagerie of animals, right?
Absolutely, all different fauna. There might be some flora involved in there too, but there's just a lot of exciting development going on, and even beyond that, just everyone wants to make everything communicate. So you can find translators from one piece of software to another piece of software, because there is no I'm sure you guys would agree, there's no one piece of software that, can be applied to every project. So,
definitely.
it's great. It's really exciting.
Well, you wouldn't. What I always say is you wouldn't buy a table saw and expect to start a wood shop just with that, right? I mean, table saw is a really, really great tool, but you also need other tools in a wood shop as well.
Yeah, like a wood chipper.
Yes, especially right. That's probably the next tool I would buy. Maybe not, but so what? But that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So what are some of your other favorite Rhino plugins then that you think are really important?
Oh, well, there's something that I use quite often. It's called Weaverbird, and what it does, it allows you to take a Rhino model and then just there's all these fancy named algorithms, but essentially allows you to just keep subdividing and create, super smooth curvature, as well as very porous structures using that. So that's used heavily. There's also something else called Rhino Nest. And from a fabrication standpoint, that's been really, really valuable in taking something and, in addition to being able to slice something up vertically or horizontally, it'll actually nest it. So if you have a certain size material that you're going to mill or laser cut, it just automatically computes it and lays it all out and optimizes how much material can be used. And that's a huge time saver as well as a cost saver too, depending on what you're working with. If it's a laminate or even if it's just MDF. So
that's really cool. And I have to say, one of the things I've never been a big Rhino user myself. I know it well enough. It's on my computer. It's nice to have around from time to time, but I was never into it so much. But more and more lately, I've been really impressed that they've managed to take what I have seen in the past as some of the weaknesses of Rhino and turn them into its strengths. And basically, they've turned this system that in the past I really thought of it as a tool that, well, it's nice, but I need other tools to complement it. It's not good enough by itself. Well, they've taken that fact and really kind of amped that up and said, well, yeah, that's right. This is a platform tool. This is a platform, and and you can write software to expand it, and that's what makes it great. And I think that's been a really interesting thing to see kind of starting to flourish in the Rhino community lately.
I would completely agree. And actually, Rhino specifically has actually, I'm using it more and more for non-Rhino purposes. So because you have so much precision in Rhino, it's actually something I'll use a lot for creating vector artwork instead of Illustrator.
I've done the same thing. Yeah.
Yes, it's taking over more and more.
Well, what's crazy too with Grasshopper even, I've seen people using it for motion control as well, which is really fascinating.
Absolutely, yeah, being able to animate very, very easily, and then all the other things that you can do with it, and exporting and importing. So yeah, there's just a ton of capabilities. But what you're saying, absolutely, it's more of an ecosystem, or like you said, a platform, and people are now populating that platform. So it's great, and the new version 5 will be coming out shortly, so it's exciting. And then Python extensions, being able to write your own script sword, it just keeps going and going and going.
Well, I think I've learned something today, John.
First.
All right, we're going to be right back.
And welcome back. Today, as you know, we have the awesome pleasure of chatting with Stuart Fingerhut, product lighting, environment, experience, and furniture designer. He does it all, people.
We had to get Stuart on the show, not only because his designs are incredible, but because he crosses the line of the sublime within design and engineering, creating products that shape your experience. Josh is a poet this week, I'm telling you what.
You know it. So, Stuart, you've been involved in everything from branding and marketing to design of buildings and lights. What's led you down this path?
Well, I spent about a decade in the action sports world here in Southern California. So I worked for a company called GT, got me out of college, GT Bicycles, and then after they went unfortunately bankrupt, I moved into the apparel side of action sports with a company called NEMA. Both of those were located in Orange County, and doing that was just fantastic. And then I don't know, I think what a really pivotal thing was seeing a Frank Gehry exhibition at MoCA here in Los Angeles, and that really just put my brain on a new path, and realizing instead of the hyper acceleration of the apparel industry, every quarter is something new. Designing and implementing things that maybe have a little bit more longevity was really exciting and intriguing to me. So what would any smart person do? Well, leave your job and go back to school as a young adult. So I went down that path. I went to Art Center, College of Design at Pasadena, in their environmental design department, and recently finished about a year ago in December of 2010. And that really covered the full spectrum: furniture, lighting, interior, exterior architecture, and then, of course, all things that, creating an experiential space. So it's been great.
It's fascinating. I mean, and your designs are really thoughtful. And the Kinema pendant light, for example, inspired by the movement of crustaceans, according to your website, allows people to adjust the rings around it to change the character of the lighting. And this is one of the coolest things, I think, on the portfolio side. It's a very, very cool thing, definitely worth looking at. Can you step us through a little bit of your design process and what your favorite part is, how you work with this?
I'm not a big sketcher. I just love diving into the computer and getting dirty with the software. So if the software is 2D, if the software is 3D, if the software is a combination of both. Music is always on. If I have headphones on, I love just listening to music. Some of my genres I'm into are dubstep and grime and glitch. Yeah. And those are I think they give a different slant. Yeah. Give a different slant. So definitely that. I mean, that puts a lot, gives you maybe a different perspective on things and allows you to kind of go deeper on things too. But then also technology, of course, what's at our fingertips. And here in LA, there's just so many resources to get anything made. We had the aerospace industry. We have so many world-class architects here in the city that are really pushing things on their own level. And there is a kind of a trickle-down mentality for smaller studios, medium studios, but just fabrication resources are galore. So I think all of those things really come together to facilitate creating something new. Not everything needs to be injection molded plastic. So it's exciting. I think all those things allow us to create something.
Nice. Now, when I first saw your work, my goodness, it was I think it was 2008. You had designed the gun rack organizer. It was on Ponoco, being sold through there. I came across that, and at the time, at that time, you were going through a bout with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and you beat it, right? So, did that change your perspective on design at all, or what you were doing?
Yeah, just changed my perspective. I think on everything, on life, and design is a huge component of that. But going through cancer was a bummer. There's no doubt about that. Really. But yeah, it was about a year of my life that just kind of got put on hold through tests, surgeries, more tests, and then 6 months of chemotherapy, which sucked. But coming out of that, you're like, okay, what am I doing? And what is worth my time? So like everyone, there's some things that come across your desk and you're like, I really don't want to design that or put my time into that. Something else comes across and you're like, well, they only have X amount allocated for it, but this is a really exciting project. So I'm going to do way above and beyond whatever it takes to blow this out of the water. So, there's definitely that. And, I think it definitely think it's changed, not just how we live my life, but how I guess I see things out there and what you appreciate. You definitely appreciate things different.
So you have a couple of pugs, right? Do they do any cool tricks?
I don't know. Do you consider urinating on command a cool trick?
That is a very cool trick. And one that Josh is really good at.
Yes. Well, once again, we are out of time. Be sure to check out Stuart's work at stuartfingerhut.com. Stuart, this has been even better than that time I saw Adam wrap himself in styrofoam and catapult himself into an unsuspecting flock of pigeons. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, it's been a real pleasure, and I want to thank you guys for having me on.
If you would like to send styrofoam suits or human-scale trebuchets to EVD HQ, please address those to Adam.
I'll take some of those myself. Fun times ahead. An Engineer versus Designer appreciates your comments. If you listen to the show, like it, and want to squeeze the chubby cuteness out of it, head over to EngineerVsDesigner.com and squeeze away. Holiday recipes are welcome.
And if you want to see us climb to the top of a tree while punching each other with knives, be sure to like us, +1 us, follow us, or whatever, as social media has apparently, according to Josh, been correlated with lacerations and massive internal bruising.
It hurts. This show's been edited by the Simon Martin. Theme music by Ross Hartman.
And we'll see you next week. And remember, without designers, engineers would even paint the Christmas lights beige.
And without engineers, there would be no Christmas lights.
So enlightening.
Zap.